So this is something we've been thinking about for a while because our offense has some shakeups this coming up this season, right?
Yep.
A lot, not new faces on the offensive line, but we're missing 3 old faces that were on the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
A new expensive running back, a new essentially Nelson Aguilar, basically,
A
right?
steal of a contract.
Steal of a contract. Jason Witten gone, which means our wonderful backup tight end is going to get a lot more snaps. So we thought, okay, let's predict our top 8 offensive skill players for next season, right? The top 8 MVPs on the Raiders in the 2021-22 season. And you'll see a lot of this. A lot of the names you think would be on here are on there, but maybe not in the order you think. And we're going to start out with one of the more beloved guys on the team, number 8, Hunter Renfrow. And I wonder if people are thinking, oh, that's kind of low for a guy who's like a starter and a guy that Derek Carr trusts and believes in. But I feel like we know what we have with Hunter Renfrow. He's not like Ruggs or Edwards where you're like, okay, the basement's really low, but the ceiling's through the roof. Mm-hmm. Renfro's like, all right, the basement's pretty high. Like he's never going to give you terrible games, bad drops. But how often is he going to get? But is he going to give you like a 1,500-yard receiving season, 10 touchdowns? Probably not. He's reliable, good in the slot, good hands. I still think he's going to be. I think he's a very underrated punt returner. Really underrated punt returner. He was very close to breaking a couple.
He was like at least 3 punt returns, couple against the Chargers. He was very, very close.
He had 56 receptions, 656 yards, and 2 touchdowns last season. What do you think? Number 8, Hunter Renfrow, right?
Yeah, he's number 8. The reason why he's that low is I don't think that the improvements that he's going to make are going to be that marked. It's not going to be that huge of a jump. Mm-hmm. I could see him topping out at around 65, 70 receptions. Mm-hmm. Maybe 750 yards and a handful of touchdowns. Now, that's not slouch numbers, but that's not like an MVP type because of how he's used. He's used more so as a chain mover, and hopefully, really one of the only ways that he's going to be a huge asset and an integral piece is if he becomes more of a threat in the red zone. That's when he can be a huge threat because he is so precise and he's not super fast, but he's sudden and he can get open. Mm-hmm. And he's got great hands. So I see number 8 being good for him. I see number 8 being a good slot for him.
He's carved out a very important role, but generally a limited role. Like, okay, this is what you do. Like he's underrated speed. He can go deep, right? But third and Renfrow.
No, let's just be honest here. His deep passes are going to be schemed. It's going to be the scheme got him open to confuse the secondary, and he's quick enough to get past him. And once he's past you, it's going to be hard to catch up to him. Yeah. He's not lining up one-on-one. You know what I'm going to do, and I'm still going to beat you. It's just he doesn't have that kind of speed.
Number 2, backup tight end, Foster Moreau. He played all 16 games last season, only had 7 receptions for 140 yards. So why do we make him number 7, Soto?
I believe he's going to be our true tight end throughout the season. I really do think someone who's going to be talking about later is more of a hybrid and going to play a lot of X position. Moreau has underrated hands, underrated catching ability, and underrated to the NFL, not to Raiders fans who know him.
Yeah.
He can get open. He's quicker than you think. He's faster than you think. He's bigger than you think. And he's a matchup nightmare. His rookie year, he had 5 red zone touchdowns. That's not something to sneeze at because you have all these other you have an emerging Darren Waller that year. You have other players like Terrell Williams, who did really well when he was healthy. Mm-hmm. You have all these other players that are there. And, then you have Foster Moreau with 5 red zone touchdowns. Now that he's a little bit more in tune with the system, he's going to be playing more of the traditional tight end role on inline tight end. he should receive a lot more targets.
Yeah, and not even just targets, but I think he's our best blocking tight end. I feel like he's going to see a lot of snaps. So like his biggest issue last season was that John Gruden picked up Jason Witten for whatever reason, right? And Jason Witten took all of Foster Moreau's snaps. He's an above average tight end. He just happens to be in the same team as Darren Waller.
One of the best 2-3 in the league.
Yeah, one of the best out there. So he gets overshadowed, but he's going to be on there a lot in an offense that uses a lot of tight end. And I think, like you mentioned, I think Waller's going to be moved around, lined up outside. You know, he's going to be moving all over the place. Foster Moreau is going to be in a 3-point stance with his ass next to a tackle, you know, blocking very, very well and running routes and being great in the red zone. There's going to be a lot of 2 tight end sets. He's going to do a lot of run blocking. He's going to be a really good guy for play action. I think, and also like, you think about what's deeper in our offense, our tight end room or a wide receiver room? Our tight end room. Like, would you rather have, like, who'd you rather have on the field? Like Foster Moreau and Darren Waller or Zay Jones or, you know, like all these other like random wide receivers. So I think he's going to get a lot of playing time. And I think I'm with you. I think he'll be the 7th most valuable player, skill player on our offense. Number 7.
Number 6.
Excuse me. Number 6. It comes after 7.
Yeah.
Henry Ruggs III. First wide receiver taken in the draft last season. He'll be the fastest player on the field in almost every single game he's in. Kind of underwhelming last season. He played 13 games, injured for 3, 26 receptions, 452 yards, 2 touchdowns, a couple giant plays, flashed his brilliance a couple times, but unanimously and overwhelmingly considered a bust in his rookie year. But we made him number 6.
This is a tough one. He can be as high as 2.
Yeah.
It all depends. I'm very hesitant, especially at receiver, when you have such an elite talent like Waller as a pass catcher as well. There's only one football. And as much as John Gruden likes to run the ball, not to say that he's going to play poorly, but some of his names coming up on this list are poised to have a big year. I struggled putting him in the 3 slot, maybe 3-4. I didn't necessarily agree with 6, but that's what we agreed upon.
You think he should be higher or lower?
I think it should be a little bit higher, but again, that's all speculation.
But then it comes down to over who, right? So like, okay,
exactly.
Right. If you put him, I mean, and this is a nice problem to have when we think Henry Ruggs is only going to be the 6th best skill player next season. Like, my big thing is like the guys above him have already proved it, and he hasn't yet. And again, the ceiling is through the roof for Henry Ruggs. Like he could be amazing, and we know that he was under the radar hurt last season. So hopefully that's why his rookie year wasn't that great. But I think John Gruden is committed to him, which is why like I was tempted not even to put him in the top 8. But I think because Gruden is committed to him and he will get opportunities that other wide receivers on the team won't. Because even if his role is just what he had last season, he still stretched the field, he still opened guys up underneath. He still contributed even when the ball wasn't in his hands. Mm-hmm. So between even when he's not getting the ball thrown to him, what he does for this offense, how high his ceiling is, and the fact that he was injured last year, I think 6 is fair. But I think Henry Ruggs is anyone on this list. He's the one where I'm like, okay, I just made him 6 because that's like an average. He could be out of the top 10, or he could be 2.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough because unless you're proven to be a dominant player as a pass catcher, you're relying heavily on the quarterback to get you the ball.
Yeah.
So with all the other threats that we have as pass catchers, he really needs to separate himself from all those different options in order to climb up this list. Is it possible? Of course it is. It's definitely possible, but we really have to go out. There's a certain amount of projection here but there's also like speculation, but there's also, we have to temper it with some realism. Like, okay, how much can we expect him to improve in this year?
Yeah, this isn't a hope contest, right? This isn't our who we hope is going to be the best. It's who we really think would be it.
Yeah.
Number 5, Pro Bowler, only in the top 5. Josh Jacobs, starting running back, played 15 games last season, 1,065 yards for a 3.9 yards per carry average, 12 touchdowns, and like I mentioned, Pro Bowl. Only 5 though.
Yeah, I see him topping out right there about 12. That's a lot of touchdowns. 12 touchdowns is a lot of touchdowns. He's going to be around that 1,100 yard mark, hopefully still again. But I really do think his yards per carry is going to go up significantly.
Okay.
Probably like almost a yard.
Because it dropped about a yard between his rookie year. So he had 3.9 yards per carry. I think he had 4.8 his rookie year, 3.9 last season, that's a massive drop. Like, that's nothing to snicker at.
It's a huge drop.
Only because he got 270 attempts did he get over 1,000 yards.
Yeah, and we've seen it before. The 250 attempt threshold, once you get too far above that too often, listen, the Derrick Henrys of this world are very few and far between.
Yeah, literally one.
This is the one Derrick Henry in this world, all right? The last thing we saw to a Derrick Henry type, I think we could say with the speed combination, was a young Eddie George, and look how long he lasted.
Yeah.
Big, huge back, just running over everybody, and he lasted about maybe 4 good years, and then he had some mediocre years, and then he was out of the league. But Derrick Henry's still going strong. If you guys take a look at the Carolina Panther tape last year, the first game of the year, Jacob was running through tackles. He was dragging people 3 or 4 yards down the field. He was making players miss. We didn't see that the second half of last year. The amount of touches that he's getting for the size of back he is, he's not a small guy, but as far as a running back goes, he's not very big to be able to take that kind of punishment that often.
He's a small guy for his style of running.
He's small for his style,
back,
correct.
5'10", 220, like, he's a thick boy, but a dude that, like, looks for contact.
Yeah, he doesn't shy away from the contact. And I think he's right where he's going to be. If he gets to that 1,000-yard, 1,100 yard around there, if he gets that again with the lower number of rushing attempts, I think that's going to be a big win for us. I think it's definitely possible, because if he runs the way he did against the Carolina the whole year, it's definitely possible.
Yeah. Things going for him next season. Gruden is so committed to the run, and he loves Jacobs, so he's going to get his carries.
And he's committed to Jacobs specifically as a ball carrier.
Yeah, and because he's the type of runner that Gruden wants, right? He wants a smash mouth football, a guy that can catch the ball, a guy that can block, but mostly he wants you to just like put the fear of God in those linebackers and get those safeties creeping up and put an extra guy in the box. I do think, even though his yards dropped last season, I think that had more to do with the offensive line getting reshuffled a bunch and less about his style of running. I
don't know, man. Look, I'm telling you right now, I watched that tape, and every time he had contact, he was getting another 2-3 yards. That wasn't happening towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
Now, well, it had nothing to do with the offensive line. That's with him being able to run through the defender.
And he's going to get some rest this season with Kenyon Drake, and then we'll have other guys. Maybe Alec Ingold, I think, is probably going to get some more carries this season. He's going to get some breaks. So he's been injured every single season, his first 2 seasons. The chance of him getting injured this season are less than the last 2. Still likely, right? I mean, the way he runs, probably, but less likely this time. The things he got going against him. He's going to lose a lot of carries to Kenyon Drake. The offensive line, I'm still optimistic about this new offensive line, but it's very safe to say that there's still questions about this O-line. They went a little smaller and a little quicker, which makes me think, okay, outside run plays, pass blocking, they'll be better. But the just wall of violence that was Rodney Hudson, Gabe Jackson, Trent Brown, like, that's just not there
Not
anymore.
there anymore.
Not that style anymore, which is neither bad or good, but it's not great for Jacobs. And also, he was so committed last season to being a better pass catcher, and he never really did. Like I think his role, the idea that he's going to really diversify his role has taken a step back. It can still happen. Look, it's his third season, right? The guy's
diversify his bonds.
The guy's what, 23? Like, of course.
Yeah, he's
like,
going to be 23. Yeah,
he's going to be 23. Like, of course, he can still get better at other things, but it's that giant leap we thought he'd take in season 2, he didn't. Number 4, and we debated this. I thought Jacob should be 4 and this guy should be 5, but we negotiated. You think Kenyon Drake at number 4, our brand new, highly priced running back last season. He played 15 games, had almost 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns. Really diverse player, and definitely that joker guy that John Gruden's been looking for.
John Gruden has had a hard-on for a joker position player. He's been talking about making this person and that person, all this stuff. He finally has a guy that has been that guy. Now, MVP as far as overall numbers, I don't think he's going to get the touches that Jacobs gets, so I don't think that's going to be it. I think for Drake, it's going to be the chunk plays, the over 15-yard, the over 20-yard plays, because he's definitely capable of doing that. And that's basically – that's how he was used, I think, in a de facto way in Miami, because I don't know if they really knew what they had initially with Drake. They had a couple other guys that they were using at the time. And I don't know that Drake is necessarily a lead back for an entire year. But if you put him in positions to succeed, which John Gruden knows how to do that with an offense, I think he can be a very effective weapon in getting those big chunk plays, which is what we need, because we didn't really get them last year. We didn't really get those big plays last year.
Yeah, I think Josh Jacobs will get twice as many touches as Kenyon Drake, which is why I think he should be higher. But you're right that like Jacobs isn't going to get a specifically designed play that Gruden's been sitting on all game to get a touchdown. Drake will.
Drake's a finisher,
as he should be, right? As he should be. Josh Jacobs' longest touchdown pass last season was 28 yards in 273 rushes. You should have a couple 50, 60-yard breaks, right?
At least a 40-yard or something.
And he didn't, right?
The fucking corner fell down or something, and you would get 40.
Yeah, but you should get a couple, and he really didn't. Kenyon Drake, like you said, is that guy. Like he's the guy that could just.
What was Drake's 40 time? I'm interested to see that, because I don't see Jacobs as being slow, but I do see him as being a sudden, and he's able to make guys miss. Drake is just fucking fast.
It's fast, burst speed, and good change of direction speed. Like he's the guy in open space that you want him to just be dancing around, safeties that are overcommitting. But like I said, I think he's going to be lined up outside. He's going to be having passes thrown to him. He's going to have screen passes designed for him. Like John Gruden will have in his back pocket Kenyon Drake specific. We want this play to blow wide open. Let's. And I've been setting up this play all game. Kenyon Drake's going to get those plays. Jacobs won't.
Yeah. So just to circle back on my last question, Josh Jacobs ran a 4.640, which is, pedestrian as far as a running back goes.
Yep.
He's never seen as a game breaker or anything like that. And this just shows you what a freak Darren Waller is. We're saying, oh my God, Kenyon Drake is fast and this and that. They have the same 40 time, 4.45.
Yeah.
And Drake is like a foot taller and 30 pounds heavier. Fuck. Waller is a foot taller and about 40 pounds heavier. So yeah, that's what a freak he is. 4.45 is Kenyon Drake.
So yeah, I still think Jacobs will be more valuable because I think he'll get much more touches, but Drake is that joker, is that wild card. I think they'll have about the same amount of touchdowns, even though Drake will get way less touches.
So there was a lot of times, especially 2 years ago, when Alec Ingold was the primary pass catcher out of the backfield, and he did a good job of catching the ball, but he didn't have that burst to get those yards that the play designed.
Yeah,
and so that's why I believe that's why the drop off in his touches towards the second half of his rookie year, and then last year where he didn't get a lot of touches because he just didn't have that burst to be able to make the play happen the way it's designed. I think Drake's going to fill that role, and he definitely does have that explosiveness to be able to make that play happen.
Number 3, and I think this might be the most controversial one out of all of them, but I
didn't really agree with this one, but
I'm pretty confident in it though. John Brown, our brand new wide receiver, cheap, $5 million, coming from the Bills. Last season, he played 9 games because of injury, 33 receptions for 458 yards, 13.9 average, and 3 touchdowns. So obviously last season is a little bit of a novelty because of his injury. But normally
and a guy called Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, and a guy called Stephon Diggs. He played in his career 96 games, 31 touchdowns. I remember when we first signed him, you're like, "What?" You texted me, "What the heck? What, this guy, this hack? What are we doing?" I'm like, "Dude, look at his numbers. Look at his play. He's better on paper than Nelson Aguilar. I'm convinced he's going to be this season's Nelson Aguilar. Like." Mm-hmm. Bryan Edwards doesn't pan out. Henry Ruggs doesn't pan out. You can't just throw the ball to Darren Waller 25 times a game, right? John Brown, I'm convinced can be that guy. Veteran. He's going to make the team better. I think he's going to be this next season's Nelson Aguilar. I think he's going to be a 1,000-yard receiver. He's going to be Derek Carr's favorite wide receiver target. He's the guy. And he's gonna be the number 1 wide receiver on this football team next season.
I don't know, man. The thing is, you really have to take a look at one thing that we've been talking about a lot, which is Bryan Edwards. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a couple of things I think going against Bryan Edwards. One of them was the number 7 player that we talked about was Foster Moreau. Now, how does that figure into Bryan Edwards? Well, if Foster Moreau is playing the tight end, he's not spelling Darren Waller every single time he's out there. Mm-hmm. Darren Waller is going to be moved into more of an X position, and let's just between us, okay?
Okay, no one's listening.
Let's just be honest.
Let me hit pause.
No one's listening anyway. There's 3 people out there, I think. Darren Waller is an X receiver. We call him a tight end to steal money, so we don't have to pay the man. But he's an X receiver. He's a big receiver that can block. Mm-hmm. What? Now we can go back to fantasy.
Record.
Okay. Bryan Edwards is not going to have the chances that a true starting X receiver would have, because Waller's going to play that role quite a bit. If Bryan Edwards can make the most of his opportunities, I don't see John Brown hitting the field all that often, because John Brown is basically an older version of Henry Ruggs, the same player. He's not an X receiver. Can he play the X? I'm sure he could, but he's more of a Henry Ruggs type player. And if Henry Ruggs is another if, right? If the queen had a dick, she'd be the king. If Ruggs stays healthy and shows even a slight improvement, and Bryan Edwards shows what he can do, I don't see John Brown hitting the field all that often, honestly.
That's what I'm saying, is that's a lot of ifs, right? Like I'm going on what we've got, like what you've already shown me, not your potential, right? There's a little potential in there, but I'm going on, all right, what have you given me, not what I hope your ceiling is. And John Brown has proven to be a number 1 wide receiver in the NFL. He's proven to be reliable. He's proven to be good hands. He's still got his speed. He knows the game of football. Mm-hmm. And if I'm Derek Carr, if I'm John Gruden, like we love Henry Ruggs, we love Bryan Edwards, like we want them to succeed clearly. Like, and again, we're not giving up on them by any means, but we're banking on them showing us something we haven't seen before. Yeah. I'm banking on John Brown continuing to show us what he's always done. And that's to be this season's Nelson Aguilar for $5 million.
Yeah, well, and the thing too, this mindset is not unprecedented. All you have to look at is Edwards and Ruggs were the starters last year, and as soon as Aguilar started showing out, he became the starter and he started getting the looks. Yep. He wasn't in the plans to be anything special, kind of a veteran leadership type of guy. Show everyone how it's done. As soon as they started making plays, they started feeding him the ball. So John Gruden doesn't give 2 shits where you were drafted, who you are, any of that shit. If you're starting to play, if you're being productive, he's going to plug you into the system. Number
2, QB1, Derek Carr. Played all 16 games last season, had a 67% completion rate, 4,100 yards, 27 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, his third consecutive 4,000-yard season. Each year under Gruden, he has improved in just about every single category. And, of course, quarterback, you're always going to be ranked higher when it comes to how valuable you are at the position. The second most valuable skill player for the Raiders next season will be QB1 Derek Carr.
Well, yeah, it's unless he completely falls on his face, which I don't really see happening. He's going to be one of the running for team MVP, offensive, skill player MVP, because he has the ball in his hands. And if anyone else has a big year, it's because he's getting him the ball.
Yep.
So I think it's kind of a no-brainer here. The last two, I think people know who the last two are. But yeah, I don't see Carr really taking a step back. If anything, I see him his numbers being cleaned up a little bit. Maybe not statistically improve, but maybe he has a little bit more. He has some more longer plays. His maybe average depth of targets a little bit further down the field. Maybe his completion percentage is a little bit better. Maybe he has more touchdowns. But I don't see the yards because I do see Drake and Jacobs combo being a lot more successful running the ball.
As it should be for what we're paying Drake and how high Josh Jacobs was drafted. My big thing with Derek Carr is he improved in the ways that he has the biggest knocks. Like his yards per average was the highest of his career. We're saying, he doesn't throw the ball deep enough. He threw it deeper on average last season than he ever has in his career. He doesn't.
And he needs to go deeper.
And he's going in the right direction, right? Like he's trending in the direction. He's trending in the direction away of all of his problems, right? He's moving around the pocket. He's still, certainly no Michael Vick, but he's moving around the pocket better than he ever has. Still can be better. Throwing it deeper than he ever has. Still can be deeper. Again, the obvious one, other than the fumbles, he's improved in all the areas where you give him the biggest trouble. And he's just so damn good pre-snap. Like he's so good.
He does a lot.
Pre-snap. He's a computer back there, and he runs Gruden's offense perfectly. Fourth season with with John Gruden, and he's got so much depth on his offense now, which he never had before, right?
Yeah.
2.5 really great tight ends, multiple receivers that fit multiple roles if guys fall through, right? Like you said, if Brian Edwards, if Henry Ruggs falls apart, John Brown's right there. If Hunter Renfrow, starts falling apart, Willie Snead can pick up that slack, right? Like the writers have been raving about Zay Jones for seasons now, and he never gets any love. Like, he's always there to potentially be something, right? Like
I don't think so.
There's
whatever.
Anyway, yeah, he's got 2 starting running backs. Like he's got so many weapons that it's. Again, he's like, he doesn't even have to be a really good quarterback. He can be a game. Like we want more of him, right? He's a franchise quarterback. He needs to be a playmaker, a game winner. But he's almost got a team where he can just be a game manager type quarterback. Like he's almost at the point where he can just kind of be a Flacco. It's like, don't screw up. Give it to all your skill guys.
Yeah.
That's how good this offense is getting.
One thing that I want to bring up really quick. It's a little bit for later in the episode. I don't think we're really going to get to it, so I'm just going to mention it right now that you said the down the field thing. There's a stat called ADOT, average depth of target. He was, I think he's in the high teens against pressure. So it's not taking into account your completion percentage. It's your average depth of target. How far are you passing the ball down the field when you have pressure on you? The top 6 in the NFL: Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Deshaun Watson, Josh Allen, Russell Wilson. Well, that's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, top 5. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Are the top 5 in kind of the fuck? I'm not a math major. So they're the top 5 ADOT against pressure, and Carr was in, I think, the high teens, like 17 or 18. So that's something that needs to be cleaned up a little bit. We talked about it last week. He can still be a game manager and work within the system because deep shots are built into this system. You just got to be able to just let the ball rip. And he has the arm to do it. He has, if his playmakers step up, if he has more than one guy that's been reliable at catching that deep ball. He's got 2 now. He's got Waller on one side and whoever the fuck else on the other. Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited.
So before we get to number 1, let's just mention who didn't make this list. That might surprise people. So Jalen Richard, not on the list. I think Kenyon Drake has just taken all of Jalen Richard's touches next season.
All his value, basically. I mean, not all his value as far as what we've seen from Jalen Richard in the past. I think now he's relegated him to a backup, and a special teams guy.
I don't think he's gonna make this team. Actually, I mean, he's due for $3.5 million next season, and that's more than Josh Jacobs makes. Like,
I
think he's gonna be a cap casualty.
I hate to see him go because he's such a freaking solid dude.
Yeah,
but we can maybe flip him for a 6th or 7th when someone gets hurt somewhere else, because Richard has been shown flashes to be able to make things happen if you plug him into the right system and the right circumstance. If not, yeah, I see him being a cap casualty as well.
Also on the list, Brian Edwards. He's been brought up multiple times during this segment about just didn't show us last season. Again, ceiling through the roof. He could be our number 1 wide receiver, a true X. He's shown flashes of it at times. And maybe, again, it's the same excuse that every team has, but I feel like the Raiders use it more often. But they'll have a non-COVID training camp this season, a full offseason, full OTAs. Hopefully that'll help him out. But if he doesn't pan out, there's just too many guys that can take that spot. Like Darren Waller essentially is an X. He does have going for him that he's only the true X wide receiver. There's really nobody like him on the team. So I think he's going to get multiple shots, but until he can put together a semi-consistent season, it's hard to think that he'll be, a top 8 MVP in the skill position.
Well, there's a saying about players and their ceiling. You look up at a ceiling a lot more than you look down on a ceiling. So it's like you have those true. You have those expectations of a ceiling of what a player can be, and more often than not, it exceeds the player's actual abilities and actual production.
The last guy I'll mention real quick, Willie Snead the fourth. He's the one. So I understand all the other receivers they brought in, right? You bring in John Brown in case Ruggs can't get his act together, right? You bring in Kenyon Drake to be explosive. But Willie Snead, though, he's basically in there to be another Hunter Renfrow, but Renfrow's beloved and proved that he can be a great slot guy. So he's kind of just basically a backup for Renfrow, not a safety valve for Renfrow. Not a safety valve in case Renfrow doesn't pan out. He's already basically panned out. It's just kind of, all right, let's give Hunter a couple, a drive off, for a break. And then you got Willie Snead in there.
Yeah, freaking Renfrow just got annihilated on punt return again. Let's just see if he's alive. He has his faculties.
This lineman was allowed to do a helmet-to-helmet tackle
running
on Hunter
40
Renfrow.
Fucking yards straight into his head, and that's fine.
If a Raider did that to another player, they would be executed on site. But do it to a Raider. All right, number 1, no question about it, no doubt about it. Darren Charles Waller. Played all 16 games last season.
Dreamy eyes Waller.
107 receptions, almost 1,200 yards, 9 touchdowns, the fastest tight end in football. At worst, the second best pass catching tight end in football. At worst, the third best overall tight end in football. The best bang for your buck in football. With one of the best
football
contracts in all of football. Fantastic team leader, fantastic teammate. He's improved every season. He's finally getting the credit he deserved. He's bracketed on almost every play. And he's still getting his yards. He's still getting his receptions. He's opening up for other players. He is the most valuable skill player in Las Vegas with a bullet. No question, no hands down. God bless him that he's a Raider. And I can say in John Gruden's 3 seasons with the Raiders so far, Darren Waller's his greatest accomplishment. Signing him, finding him, making him a star, keeping him for cheap.
And goddamn is he handsome.
Beautiful man. A beautiful, beautiful man. Any predictions?
There's not much you can say about the guy, man. Look, even if he regresses, if his numbers regress slightly, I don't think anyone will look down on him. It's going to be because there's so many other options.
I honestly think his numbers will regress next season. I think he'll be a better player, but I think between, hopefully Ruggs gets better to that deep ball. Hopefully,
there's only one football.
Yeah, only one football. And I think he's going to take, I think Ruggs is going to keep the safeties deep. Waller is going to be bracketed. And so Brown, Renfrow, Drake, like there's going to be some guys that like are going to be one-on-one, and there's going to be great matchups. And how often are they going to go one-on-one with Darren Waller, right? Like he'll get his design plays and he'll be a star, and he'll have, 160-yard, 3-touchdown game this season, no doubt about it. But there's just so many other targets now, and everybody knows what he is now. This isn't 2 seasons ago where he exploded out of nowhere and became a surprise. Like every single defensive coordinator every single week is going to think of 2 things. All right, stop Jacobs, stop Waller. Those are their goals, right? And so he's gonna be facing that and opening up everything else.
And even when if I'm Derek Carr, because there are times where the defense tries to get a little cute, right? And we've seen this formation before. This is going to go to this person. This is designed to go to that person.
Yeah.
And they single coverage Darren Waller. I'm always taking a peek over there. Once it snapped, I'm always taking a quick little peek. If he's single covered, I'm just going to throw the ball up there.
Yeah.
Fuck it. He's fucking a foot taller than everybody else. He's faster than everybody else.
Yeah.
He's just a freak athlete.
Like who can cover him one-on-one? Like he's 6'6". How many corners have the hops and height to be able to hang with him?
How many corners are even 6'2"?
How many safeties have the coverage skills to handle him? How many linebackers can keep up with him speed-wise? Like you can't cover the dude. You have to bracket him.
You have to. But the thing is they don't always do it. They don't always do it. Not every single play. So, that's my first look.
Yeah.
When I'm doing my drop back, I'm always taking a little peek over there. What's going on over there?
So those are our top 8 skill players that we think will be the MVPs for the Raiders next season. Number 8, Hunter Renfrow. Number 7, Foster Moreau. Number 6, Henry Ruggs III. Number 5, Josh Jacobs. Number 4, Kenyon Drake. Number 3, John Brown. Number 2, Derek Carr. And number 1, Darren Charles Waller.